Hello, and welcome to Talksurfer Show, a whirlwind ride through whatever we want. I am your host this week, Galen.
And I'm your co-host Matt. And we've got a little fun format twist for you here today.
Yeah, I'm in the host chair. It's nice and comfortable.
Yeah, and my chair's made out of like wood and straw.
Yeah, doesn't feel so nice.
I think this came from like one of those model pioneer villages. I was like, hey, can I get a souvenir? Yeah, what do you want? That pointed over to a giant house, and they're like, you can't have the house, but you can have one thing from inside it. Joke's on them. I still got all the stuff from the house eventually.
I don't get the joke.
See, the thing is, when the wood of the house starts to rot, they replace it with a board from a new wooden board. And eventually, every piece of wood in the house starts to rot and gets replaced by another wooden board. Which means that if I were to get all of those boards and reconstruct the house, I would have the original house, right?
I think we need to come up with a name for this paradox, like the House of Twackius.
Yes, the House of Twackius. The house that Twack built.
Yes.
It's made of rotten wooden boards. It's going to fall apart at any moment, just like this podcast. So, yeah.
This week we had kind of a bunch of little topics we wanted to touch on rather than one big one. So we decided to sort of introduce a new, well, not a new show, but a new subset of this show.
News and reviews for yous is sort of what we're going with here.
Except also not just news, because I mean, we're also going to be looking at like trailers for stuff.
Yeah, that's why I said reviews.
I suppose.
I
suppose that the music is also reviews.
Well, don't snooze on this.
Or you'll lose your mind.
In the music, the moment you own it. So I guess we should just go straight into the news.
Yeah, we don't really have like a state of the meme or anything, or even an intro for this, really.
Yeah. Well,
if you can't tell.
It should be mentioned that, like, I think we had... Like you said, we had a lot of small topics to cover, and it was like none of them were really big enough to be an entire episode, and also weren't exactly big enough to be an entire state of the meme, or somewhere around there.
Yeah,
hence
hopefully
the lack of state of the meme.
Hopefully this is going to be sort of one of the shorter episodes you can just sort of, have on, listen to it for your 30-minute lunch break.
And then listen to it for another 30-minute lunch break in the next day.
Well, you can just sort of re-listen to this, and it'll be a fun time capsule of what it was like on September 4th, 2021.
Yeah, that's the date we're recording this. Fun fact. It's not fun fiction, which is my favorite section of the library. My second favorite is, of course, the newspapers. So, just to what to expect, the news we're covering is relating to our typical types of topics on the podcast, such as games, music, cartoons, stuff like that. The first item is that recently Magic the Gathering announced a lot of new upcoming sets and stuff. So, like, they plan out everything pretty far in advance internally, but then they also tease, like, the next year of sets every year. And they just had that moment where they teased the next year of sets. There were two that we already knew about, which were Innistrad, sort of return to Innistrad, Innistrad Part 3. Everybody loves Innistrad. It's the horror-themed set. Horror-themed stuff is really popular nowadays, especially in, like, manga. A lot of popular stuff like Jujutsu Kaisen and, what's it called? Chainsaw Man. So anyways, it makes sense why they would go back to Innistrad. It's like the second or third most popular plane as well, so that's pretty cool.
They're, if I remember correctly, they're stopping doing the core sets as well.
I think so.
As part of their sort of like looking forward initiative ? Which I find a little interesting, but I also think it's not that surprising. It's going. They're sticking with like it's like instead of generic core set, it's hey, we're going to return to the horror themed plane. So anyone who likes, horror themed stuff can probably be like, maybe it'll interest me. And, all the old fans who remember when Innistrad was good in the good old days will be like, finally, we're going back to my favorite plane. I can't wait to vampires?
Yeah.
I can't wait to flip card effects.
Yeah.
I can't wait to dredge.
Nope, not dredge. That's never coming back.
Damn.
It's number 9 on the storm scale. Number 9, dredge. No, so this is like the 5th time they've gotten rid of core sets. It should be mentioned. They keep going back and forth. The like design purpose for them is to have a introductory period where they can also put cards into standard format that don't necessarily fit in a set. They've talked before about how like they want to have format staples in standard, but they don't really fit with the theme or the mechanics of an actual set. But I mean, I think the theme sets just do better and are more compelling. The 2 upcoming theme sets that I'm particularly interested in, one of them is a Return to Kamigawa, which is a set that has not come back for a long time. It is a Japanese mythology-inspired plane, sort of Shinto-esque. The only time it was visited was the Kamigawa block, which was a long time ago. I don't have the exact date handy, but chronologically it's also a very early set on the timeline, which is why in this upcoming return, it's going to be cyberpunk themed. So we have gone from like feudal Japan to cyberpunk Japan.
Which is technically just cyberpunk.
Yeah. I assume it's going to involve Tetsuko Umezawa, I believe is her name. The daughter of Toshiro Umezawa, which is a character in Magic lore. But, I mean, Cyberpunk makes sense. Cyberpunk 2077 just came out. I mean, technically, I'm pretty sure Wizards owns the Cyberpunk license, which is why Fantasy Flight can't make Netrunner anymore. But I don't think they're going to have any sort of crossover directly, just because, like, I don't know if there's really iconic Cyberpunk characters like there are D&D characters, except for the ones from 2077. Like, Jenny.
Well, like, I mean, if you go to, like, the literal OG Cyberpunk, you could probably find them. Lord knows that, 2077 took a lot of inspiration from the OG Cyberpunk not 2049. That was the one made in response to Cyberpunk 2077. Twice, like, Cyberpunk 2021 or whatever it was.
Yeah. Now,
but yeah, it's not a property where it's like, we have fun crossover with, My Little Pony or Godzilla or whatever.
Yeah. And I would love to see, like, I don't know if they have the rights to the characters from Android Netrunner, but I'd love to see, like, Jackson Howard or, what's it called? Noise or something like that on, like, a, alternate art like they did for the Godzilla Kaiju. The other set they announced was a sort of 1920s Prohibition era themed set, very mobster inspired. Technically, Conspiracy was supposed to have an organized crime theme, but it wasn't directly like 1920s. The set art and logo has like an Art Deco style, so you can really tell the exact period and mood they're going for. The roaring part of the Roaring 20s.
Is it going to be a conspiracy set, or is it...
No, it's a mainline set.
Oh.
A main expansion.
That is super fucking cool.
Yeah. But yeah, so they announced those, then they talked a bit about their secret layers, which have been a huge point of contention, because they're essentially collector's items that are... They're limited time releases, they have, like, sneaker-style online drops... And of course, much like sneakers and other collectibles nowadays, they get scalped pretty hard. But they've
also pretty expensive to begin with.
Yeah, they're pretty expensive. They're pretty much just premium versions of cards. One of the first ones they did was a Walking Dead secret layer that had mechanically unique cards. And since then, they've pretty much vowed to always have the mechanical version of the card represented in a standard set instead of just having it in the secret layer. So, like, one of the secret layers they announced is Street Fighter, and they're printing a Chun-Li card that has multi-kicker, because Chun-Li kicks a lot, especially the move that kicks a lot. And so they're going to have that card in a standard set with a different name, different art, but the same, like, mana value, power, toughness, like, abilities and all that, which is closer to what they did with the Kaiju, where it was the card's name for, like, the regular Magic card was on the card, but there's also the name for, like, the Kaiju version. The other secret layer they announced, though, is wild to me. So, like, Street Fighter I can kind of get. You can, like, adapt them to the Magic art style, like, especially with the Planeswalkers are fairly normally dressed, I guess? Like, I don't think Chun-Li would look too different side by side with, like, Narset or something. Or Ryu with, like, Chandra or Rouse Eric. But the other one they announced was Secret Layer Fortnite. And I don't know. Fortnite is everywhere, and it's like, sure, it's money, but this feels so much like a meme. I don't know who this is for.
Yeah, okay. As someone who likes Magic the Gathering and also actually enjoys playing Fortnite the game, to the point where I have specifically decided to not touch Fortnite for a very long time because I kept spending money on the game, what do you know? I cannot imagine getting this secret layer for any reason that isn't for the meme. Like, I want the secret layer entirely for the meme. I want to be able to play my Fortnite card and see somebody fucking groan at me. But, like, I just do not think that the typical Fortnite fan, which Fortnite is a big property that is trying to engage with every fan, but when you think of Fortnite fan, quote unquote, you probably still think of, like, 12 to 16 year old, teenager-esque, like, child, not exactly child, but preteen to teen.
I mean, my sister is an elementary school teacher, and she has had kids in her class play Fortnite on their phones. Yeah.
Even lower than that. And so it's like, sure, that's also the demographic that Wizards is going for in some respect, but, like, I don't see any, like, 7-year-old being like, ooh, a limited time release for a card game that I've never heard of. I should get into this card game for this limited time release.
Yeah. Like, when I played Magic when I was younger, I didn't worry about any form of collector's things. I literally just, like, bought packs here and then at Target and, like, had a deck builder's toolkit and made, like, one deck. And I played it with friends at summer camp. But, like, so, like, the Venn diagram, there is no Venn diagram of people who buy secret layers and, like, the target demographic for this that would buy it unironically, unless that overlap happens to just be, like, I don't know, like 23 to 30-year-olds who like both games unironically but don't engage in them at a heavy level.
Even then, like, if you don't engage with Magic at a heavy level, you probably don't give that much of a shit about the secret layers. Because that's for kind of, like, the big core fans. One of the, like, last few secret layers was, like, full text lands, which was great. It was, like, lands that just completely over-explained the land. I kind of loved it. I kind of wanted it. It was way too expensive. But, like, that's the demographic, Or, like, there was one that was, like, for Black History Month that was a lot of art by Black artists featuring Black characters. And it was cool, but, like, it was still like, oh, this is a charity thing and also specifically for collectors. Who is interested in Fortnite and also really big into collecting Magic the Gathering?
Exactly. You know what else I have to imagine isn't a big overlap in Fortnite? Fortnite and the civil rights movement.
I remember in 1965 when Rosa Parks refused to leave that server.
You could have said that battle bus.
That battle bus.
You idiot.
Damn it.
Okay, so we should explain what we're talking about.
Yeah, so if you haven't heard the news, and honestly, it's kind of become a thing TM to where you might have already heard this. So for like the anniversary of, I think it was the anniversary of Martin Luther King Jr.'s death, or like just a general like, you know, the civil rights movement. Fortnite put on a like special event. Now they've done these kinds of special events before, but they usually do it as like Marshmallow, you know, like that concert was a special event, or
The Rise
you know,
of Skywalker.
Various other sort of like properties and like name brand people. But this one was a like history museum that you could watch a video of Martin Luther King Jr.'s extremely popular and pivotal "I Have a Dream" speech, and sort of like engage with this little museum of Martin Luther King Jr. And it's weird.
Yeah. So, for one thing, this is the game where you can play as like Rick and Morty and Ariana Grande and Ryu.
Yeah. Like one of the best tweets I saw about this was like, you know, Xenomorph and Rick Sanchez visited the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial, and I think they learned a lot about racism.
Yeah. It feels so much like, I don't want to say it's purely corporate, like corporations trying to win points per se. To some extent it feels like that, but it's just like so tasteless.
Yeah, so the thing is that big corporations, I would argue that Milton Friedman was a lying sack of shit, and corporations have more responsibility, social responsibility, than just to make money. However, when you engage in something like this, when you engage in saying more than what your corporation is like, you know, trying to generally stand for, you have to have a certain level of tact and self-awareness. I couldn't really point you to a good example of this. I genuinely okay, gun to my head, I would say that like the Nike ad where they had Colin Kaepernick and you know they prominently featured a bunch of black actors. That, while still like kind of dumb, basically, because like Nike is a corporation that still does slave labor, don't buy Nike shoes. Like at the very least, there was effort and thought put into it more than just like a surface level. It felt like they were trying to actively say something. Fortnite, like, one of the tooltips in Fortnite is like, you know, headshots do more damage, so remember, aim to the head, you know, or like there's a whip crack emote that can't be disabled because it's part of the DC bundle with Catwoman.
Oh yeah.
So you can have a whip crack emote at the the Martin Luther King racism memorial. Like,
yeah.
If you are going to engage with this serious of a topic, you have to have more insight, especially for a like massive multiverse, you know, like sort of property. Like, you have to take those things into account, and I just don't think you can do that with a property that's like everything in the kitchen sink. You can't you can't like, you know, spot disable various emotes that would be really in bad taste because there are over like 2,000 of them. So like it just seems like, I don't want to say don't try to be better, but at the same time it's like, if you're going to try for something like this, it certainly does, you're already on a losing foot. And it doesn't help that, you know, you're not like actively thinking about everything in the game first.
Yeah, I think a big thing is that, yeah, like the Catwoman thing was one of the weirdest things that they allowed. That like I'm sure it could have just been oversight, But like with a game that big, you have to be super attentive in terms of like moderation when it comes to a serious topic, because people will be shitty on the internet.
Yeah.
And so like it just seems like they weren't enough attentive. And the fact that like you can have this sort of tonal whiplash in the museum exhibit of like seeing somebody literally as Rick Sanchez, it kind of makes it hard to take seriously the contents, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, when you go to a museum in real life, they do a lot to make sure you're centered in that museum. That, like, you are existing within the confines of the walls, and you are focusing on what's important. But Fortnite, they did not do enough, I feel like, to set the proper mood and tone.
Yeah, like it. Okay, yeah, I want to engage. I've just done a lot of shitting on Fortnite. I want to engage on their level. Here's how you do something like this. Like, if they wanted to do this, you're already kind of on the back foot. People are already going to meme it. But if you want to do this respectfully, then you like make custom avatars specifically for this, that if you log in, you like, you know, have a random pool. So it can be like, you know, hey, you can make you can kind of like try to make it a point of like, you know, oh, everyone is affected like this. Everyone should be, you know, thinking about these things. So like, you know, just have them be a random civilian looking person. If you need to have emotes, make either custom ones for them, which I don't know what custom ones you would necessarily make, or like, you know, look through your entire category and disable ones that seem like they would be really off kilter in this scenario. Also, like, I don't remember what the exact museum itself was. I want to say that like the only real things that were there were like the Lincoln Memorial and the video, and like maybe a couple of other plaques. If you like put more effort into the actual museum itself.
Wait, did they not have the MLK Memorial that's in the Washington Mall?
Okay, they might have had it actually. I didn't play this event.
Okay, sure.
For clarity.
I didn't really look at what was inside it per se, except for the people.
Yeah, except for Kratos and Chun-Li.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Chun-Li got on a Magic Gathering card just in time to be canceled for being disrespectful in Fortnite.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, if you want to do an event like this, you don't just do the bare minimum of make a new map. You put in a lot more effort than that. You know, use the game mechanics to, because like digital museums are actually super cool. They can like, you know, they can give you an experience even more real than like going to a real museum and seeing the tangible objects.
Yeah, that's been like a big selling point of the recent Assassin's Creed games.
Yeah. So like, you know, put in a lot more effort than just make a new map. You know, try to put the game, like, use the game mechanics to your advantage. Make a big crowd, so it's like you're literally, like, you know, there watching the you know, the speech. Shit like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you could have, like, a recreation of that day there. Yeah, there's so much you could do, but they just didn't. They barely walked half a mile instead of needing to go the extra to make it actually, like, acceptable, respectful. Yeah.
Yeah. My only hope is that they paid the King family a decent sum for this.
Yeah. So, to get out of something a bit more serious and into something less serious, Gamescom was recently. And with Gamescom, as is every other sort of gaming show, there was a lot of trailers and a lot of announcements. And we have sort of 3 handpicked here that we want to talk about. The first on the list is Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl. Technically was announced before Gamescom, but we haven't talked about it yet, and I really want to. So, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl is a upcoming platform fighter featuring Nickelodeon characters in a crossover fighting game sort of style. So, The big question is, will it be good? And the answer is most likely yes, because the company developing the game is Ludosity Games. And Ludosity made Slap City, which is a very enjoyable and competent and well-made platform fighter. Ludosity especially understands the tone and, like, silliness of Smash Bros. This isn't necessarily a slight against other platform fighters, but most of them go from the angle to be, like, a hardcore game. Like, less party game, more serious. Ludosity recognizes the utility of a party game, and so, like, half the stages in Slap City are competitive stages, half of them are party stages. You can play the competitive stages with more than one person, obviously, but the party stages are meant to, like, add some spice, you know, and some spite, maybe. And so, because of this, I think they're, like, uniquely... They're the best studio of, like, the indie platform fighters to make a Nickelodeon game. They can bring the cartoonishness. And they've stated it's going to have rollback, which pretty much, to put it basically, is a better form of netcode for peer-to-peer networking games. Most fighting games nowadays, most indie fighting games nowadays use this. We're starting to see some big profile implementations, like with Guilty Gear Strive. And I believe the new Melty Blood is going to have rollback. Don't quote me on that. But it means the online experience should be pretty good. They've designed a certain set of, like, stages to be tournament ready. And then, yeah, the cast, though, which I'm sure is what most people care about, is pretty solid. I'm not the biggest fan of Nickelodeon cartoons in general. I generally tend more towards, like, the Cartoon Network stuff. But they definitely have an interesting mix of, like, recent and older ones. Most of them are definitely older cartoons. A lot of, like, Klasky Shupo stuff with a character from All Real Monsters, Reptar. You know, they've shown SpongeBob and Patrick and Sandy, of course, so 3 SpongeBob reps. They showed the full box art now, which did confirm Ong and Korra. So for you Avatar fans, there's that.
Hell yeah.
The recent trailers they had at Gamescom were gameplay trailers for Cat Dog and April O'Neil. And I think that's super interesting of a pick.
Yeah, like they already had two of the TMNTs, so introducing April O'Neil is actually super fucking cool.
I think it's Leo and Mikey are the other two.
Hang on, it's Blue and Red, so yeah.
Oh, Leo and Raph.
Leonardo does machines. Yeah, and then Cat Dog, like, classic character. Mm-hmm. I did they show gameplay of him, because I really want him to be like a dual character, where he just changes who's standing on who's the they showed gameplay. I think he's going to be a stance character. It was kind of hard to tell from the trailer. I do think what's interesting is it is the like 1980s April O'Neil design and not the one from the recent Rise of TMNT. Yeah. Which, from what I remember, the version of April in Rise is a lot more active in terms of, like, actually fighting with the gang. And so it would have, I guess, in my head, made more sense for that one to be in the fighting game. But I guess it has some nostalgia appeal for the older original version. Yeah, I imagine it's kind of a pick for like the having the, you know, full scope. So it's like you have the modern designs of TMNT, but then you have classic April O'Neil, so that, you know, it can show a lot with just 3 characters. Mm-hmm. I also looking at the current roster, and with Aang and is it Aang and Korra or Aang and Korra? Ah. Why is Korra there? They don't respect Korra. Yeah, it really is a, like, wonderful mix. I mean, like, you know, SpongeBob is still going on. The Loud House having 2 characters makes a lot of sense. I think that's kind of their, like, big one right now. Yeah. And of course, you know, TMNT has been rebooted multiple times, and the current one seems to be doing very well.
Didn't it
But
end?
yeah. I don't know. I don't watch Nickelodeon anymore.
Yeah.
I was raised on Nickelodeon, so like a lot of these smaller details are very like I am the one who is supposed to be getting hype at like, oh shit, they got Aang and Korra in this.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, this looks like a really fun roster at the very least, and like
So far, there's no Timmy or Jimmy. I want to bring that up.
Yeah, that is a little surprising, I will say.
Like, yeah, Timmy, like, Fairly Odd Parents was their other, like, huge hit for a long time. And it's not like they're, like, cutting ties with Butch Hartman, because they have Danny Phantom, from what I remember.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, Jimmy Neutron, I would just be surprised that they didn't include him or somebody. Maybe Goddard? That'd be fun.
Oh, no, they picked Sheen from Planet Sheen.
Yeah, it's just Sheen and then one of the other, like, aliens from Planet Sheen.
God. No, but this is actually really exciting, both in the meme sense and in the sense that like this looks like it will actually be a very good video game.
I want to mention something super interesting about the mechanics. They recently showed the entire moveset for SpongeBob, and so there's no side inputs. So there's no side special, there's no like forward tilt or anything like that, no forward or backward air. It's just neutral up and down. But there is a running strong attack. So normally in like Smash and Rivals and even Slap City, there's just running dash attack. Actually, I don't think Slap City has running attacks, but Rivals and Smash, there's like dash attacks.
Yeah.
So now there's also dash strongs. Also, there's not only one air strong like Slap City, but there's 3 air strongs. So in air, every character has air up, down, and neutral, like normal attack, up, down, and neutral special, and up, down, and neutral strong. So I think that's really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's it's a return to the N64 Smash era, but also like that I will say that has done more to like just immediately hook me than, you know, a lot of other platform fighters. It's just like getting rid of side specials means you have to have consideration for a lot of other things. And so I am super interested to see how they pull it off.
See, for me, it's like a lot of the current platform fighters, they have strong attacks on the ground, because like Smash has smash attacks, which are strong attacks, but Ludosity was really the only one that's experimenting with doing that in the air as well to create like combo enders, or I mean in Slap City the air strongs actually are really diverse. There's some that are used as like specifically combo enders when you're off stage, some that are better for recovery, some that just give you cool movement options. So it's really interesting to see them kind of evolve that already.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah.
Sorry about that, my dog barked.
Yeah.
So, speaking of trailers, the one that I was excited about this past week, if my dog will stop barking, was Saints Row. Saints Row is getting a reboot. I am very happy about this.
Yay.
So, Saints Row is a series that is very good. Like, across the whole thing, pretty damn good. I have recently gone back to Saints Row 4, less good than I originally had fun with it. But, like, generally speaking, alright series. However, the problem in a lot of long-standing fans' eyes has effectively been that Saints Row 2 hit a really good balance between, like, very grounded, very serious, and, like, completely wacky bullshit insane. And Saints Row 3 went way more off the deep end. And then Saints Row 4 was just complete insanity. And there's been this wants to return to that, like, you know, that wonderful little balance. And so Saints Row, the reboot, which is just called Saints Row, Volition gets no points for that. I hate that shit. Call it Saints Row Retribution or
Sonic
something.
the Hedgehog.
Saints Row the Hedgehog, or bust.
Saints Row 022.
At least
it's not
my
Hitman
OC
3.
is called... My OC is Saint the Row. he has a big gun.
My OC
and he
is
says
Cage
fuck.
the Elephant.
So Saints Row is getting a reboot, and the first trailer dropped. A lot of fans were very mixed. Now, so hang on, I gotta push out my soapbox and step onto it. No small amount of the criticism was that Saints Row had quote-unquote gone woke. Fuck off with that bullshit. Saints Row was always quote-unquote woke. Like, woke SJW bullshit. Like, the fact that we still have to deal with that kind of, I hesitate to even call it criticism, in the year of our goddamn Lord 2021 is infuriating into itself. But, like, Saints Row has always had a really diverse cast. Saints Row has always been kind of very, you know, I won't say, like, progressive in the, like, normal sense.
Yeah.
But, like, even for, like, you can definitely find problematic shit in Saints Row 2 and Saints Row 3. But, like, Saints Row 2 still has one of, like, the best character creator in terms of, like, creating, you know, who you want. Like, you can fully customize your body type to the point where you can be, like, literally middle of the road androgynous. You can be extremely fat, extremely muscular, extremely skinny. You can have, like, you have to pick a binary of male or female, but the only thing it affects is, like, I think the only thing it affects is, like, if you fuck a man or a woman in the pimpin' minigame, so it's basically more like a sexuality changer. And voice doesn't matter. You can be a man with a woman's voice. You can be, you know, like, quote-unquote male in the sex and, like, have a female body type. Like, it is still the best character creator in the year of our Lord 2021 for, like, full expression. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Saints Row is always, like, and furthermore, you know, all of the co-characters have always been, like, you know, Pierce is a black man, Shondi is a woman, like, fucking, you know, when it got into the later Saints Row, really there was only, like, one or two characters who were, like, stereotypical straight white man, and even then they really weren't, like, that stereotypical straight white man. Like, the only reason people are saying it's gone woke is because the default the default boss character is a black woman, which, oh, a black woman in video games.
I've seen this criticism from people who also look at, like, the names of businesses in the games, and they would compare, like, the old original names to the new ones shown in the trailer. And the one that really got me was, like, a name from the older games where it was like a car customization store called Rim Jobs. And it's like, sure. But in the new one, it was Jim Robs. And I thought that was an upgrade, but people were like, they ruined it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about? That's way better. It's a bit more subtle, only a bit, but it's got tact. It's like Sneed.
Yeah, exactly.
Sneed.
Chucks, fucks, and sucks. Soon to be Sneeds.
It's the other way. It's Sneed's Feed and Seed, formerly Chucks. Yeah. It works because you have to think a second and get what isn't being said. If they said, like, Jim Robs, you're like, oh, it's a spoonerism. It could be Jim Robs. I get it, you know. But, like, yeah, like, I don't want to say it needed to be subtle, because I know subtlety isn't always the point of Saints Row. But, like, if that's what's got you annoyed with the game, then what are your priorities?
Yeah, exactly. It just, like, they couldn't keep everything, sure, but, like, they seem to be doing a really good job with quote-unquote modernizing the, like, you know, 2015 GTA 5 era, like, funny parody of capitalism by just making everything vulgar. Like, they're doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay. Soapbox, get out of here. Let's talk about the game. I will say, the one thing I'm disappointed, in, is that it seems more like a plucky crime adventure than a, like, like, you know, snarky crime dramedy like the second game was. The first game was actually very serious. And like, I don't think this is going to be a perfect return to form, but it looks like it's basically hitting a midpoint between 2 and 3, and quite honestly, I'm really excited for it. Like, I think that the story literally is that you start a crime empire to pay off your student loans, which I think is I think that's fucking funny, honestly. I think that is great. I hope that the boss character is like, you know, a unstoppable badass like in the second game. It looks a lot more grounded. The gameplay looks to be kind of like closer to something like Saints Row 3, but it also looks to be like way more grounded than that game. So, you know, it also looks just, I mean, infinitely better to play than 3 and 4. Again, replayed 4 recently, not great. It is not a particularly good game in the playing it sense, unfortunately. But like, I am so amazingly excited. I am so excited for the return to a much more grounded reality. I am excited to see, you know, all these new characters who are kind of getting roasted because they look like a bunch of dweebs, and I'll say they do look like a bunch of dweebs, but like, again, it primarily looks like plucky crime adventure. I am here for a plucky crime adventure. I think that is a good take on modernizing them.
BRB making a short RPG Maker game called Plucky Crime Adventure.
Personally, my favorite genre is plucky crime RTS. Actually,
oh yeah, it's actually a plucky crime strategy game. Plucky crime puzzle.
I do. The only other criticism I would have for it is that it does have sort of a case of looks like everything else syndrome. It looks a bit more like, you know, generic sort of decent looking art style. Honestly, even the like character who wears a cat head, it's very like Fortnite-ish. But the setting is also like very atypical. It's you know, in the middle of Nevada, so you get a lot of the you get the, you know, the Las Vegas style casino, but you also have really large stretches of just complete deadlands. Like, I am excited. I am hype. I am going to possibly even pre-order the game on the Epic Game Store because I have no no soul. I sold it to Epic.
Wow, you just angered a billion people with that sentence. Pre-ordering the game on the Epic Game Store. Tisk,
oh, man. That's like 7 different layers of bad.
7 different layers. Like all my favorite dips. I have a bit of a new segment here that's kind of like this, except not really. So, do you remember Pal World?
Why, yes. The game that's Pokemon but with a gun?
Pokemon but with a gun and slave labor. So, there was a trailer at Gamescom that was really similar. I know I wasn't the only one who felt like this too. And so I want to introduce this segment called Trailer Blaze, which is specifically for very weird trailers. Or like very... I don't know what to put it really. I don't know if it's really weird, but I can't think of any other adjective to put to this.
That's fair.
So... yeah, so I'm going to talk about it, and Galen's going to give his reaction to it live. This is a live react within a podcast. So this is for the game DokeV. And
yeah, so DokeV,
I know what you're wondering.
Into the history here.
I know what you're wondering. What does DokeV sound like? I mean, it kind of sounds like Pokemon. DokeV, Pokemon. So there's that. What is it actually like? It's a bit harder to say. So the trailer, it starts with just like some kids playing in a park. I legitimately thought this was for like a kids TV show or something, not for a video game, because like they do this for a few seconds, and then not a few, like 20 seconds. Then for the rest of the trailer, like every 10 seconds a new mechanic is added to the game. So it's like, you know, they're playing in the park, then they're skateboarding or they're bicycling around. So the city legitimately looks pretty good as far as like video game cities go. You know, it looks pretty vibrant, pretty lived in. There's like some cool lighting effects going on. But then like there's fishing, there's skateboarding, like I said, there's roller skating, there's like Fortnite gliding with an umbrella. And then they get to this part where a kid does like a Disney Channel drawing the logo and some robots appear and they start shooting the robots with guns. And there's explosions everywhere. It's kind of hard to follow. The guns aren't actual guns like in Pal World, but like there's still just a ton of particle effects going on. There's like this weird bouncy ball mechanic. Then like it actually gets into what they say is one of the main selling points, which is monster collecting. They like ride around on a monster, but then it cuts off the monster collecting with like kite flying. Everyone's favorite video game mechanic, kite flying. There's like longboarding and you can do tricks and stuff while longboarding. No points though, so you can't rack up those Tony Hawk combos. There's more monster collecting. There's like a dance scene that looks like Ball in Wonderworld. There's fighting with hammers, so the reason I say this is like Pal World is not just because it has... Oh yeah, there's also Spider-Man swinging. It's not just because it like has the monster collecting aspect. You can drive a car, but because there's just so many mechanics. Like literally every 10 seconds it's something new for a 4-minute game. I mean a 4-minute trailer. It just keeps going. And it doesn't have the weird undertones that Pal World had with like the slave labor stuff or using a Pokemon as a meat shield for real bullets. But it still is just really wild to watch because it just keeps adding more and more to it. It's hard to tell what... So here's the other thing. The characters in the trailer are like all social, interacting with each other, but their Twitter first said this was an MMO, or their website or Twitter, something like that. But then like once somebody brought to attention that the website said it was an MMO, they got rid of the line of text saying it's an MMO. And so nobody knows whether this will be an MMO game or just like a cooperative game with friends. Like, is this something where you can connect randomly to people? Is this something where you'll run into people randomly? Is this a Souls-like in terms of how it treats multiplayer? Nobody knows. What people do know is that there's like a billion mechanics. The
trailer is still ongoing, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's these like little furry characters that are side by side while you're just fighting your robots. You suck these monsters into like Ghostbuster traps, by the way. So it's not like Pokemon. It's like Ghostbuster in terms of how you get these monsters, apparently. The combat literally like it goes from like a flowy third person shooter into like there's this attack that's with a massive like squeaky hammer that honestly looks like Monster Hunter stuff, like that.
Yeah.
If I had to hazard a guess, this looks like it's like Monster Hunter but with a Pokemon collecting mechanic and like a dozen different traversal systems for getting around the city.
Yeah. So I feel like this in Pal World, like I said, they have this weird just amount of mechanics. It feels like there's these games trying to come out that try to have everything in the game, which never works.
Yeah.
Like, even popular MMOs haven't had everything in the game. They've had some things they do well, and that's enough to push the game forward. It's like... It feels like having your cake and wanting to eat it too. Like, it's just this huge amount of feature creep. Like, I could picture the offices where they like developed this or planned this game, and as the trailer's going on, it's like, hey, corporate says we need to add bicycles. All right, we're adding bicycles. Corporate wants skateboards now. Sure, we can use the bicycle module for that. All right, corporate wants kite flying now. Kite flying? Yeah, corporate says to add kite flying. You like that? I guess I can put it in. All right, good. Because corporate also said we needed to put in building these little wooden bird statues.
Yeah. Sorry, little bird statues? Why? Hey, don't ask why. You haven't even gotten to the rollerblading part yet.
Okay, that shouldn't be too bad to add, because we already have that. You did put in Fortnite flying, right? Yeah? Okay, because now we just need regular flying in midair while you're shooting guns. Remember
Sorry,
how we had
guns? There's guns in this game? Yeah, also there's a giant hammer, so put that in too.
Also, you can kick a soccer ball at monsters.
Right, monsters. So, like, robots, right? Yeah, corporate loves that. Also put in fuzzy monsters, too, that you can capture. Wait, you need to be able to capture them? Yeah. Don't you already have the special moves you can do with them where they, like, flip you up in the air?
Yeah. It's just wild to me. I want to blame Fortnite for this. Honestly,
welcome to today's episode. We hate Fortnite.
So like, there's two games nowadays that I feel like display success by trying to do everything, and it's Fortnite and Roblox. And Roblox isn't even a game by itself.
Yeah.
There's like a billion, or not a billion, but there's hundreds of people who make games in Roblox, which allows it to have that variety. Fortnite, I think, also has user-generated content technically, but not to the same extent. But they definitely do, like, so many weird things in Fortnite that make it not just a battle royale anymore. And it feels like this game is, like, a company that saw those things from those games, and they were like, people like games that have everything available to them. Let's make a game that does that. And they're like, what's everything? And they're like, okay, well, let's just list off everything.
The graphics have this, like, the graphics have this, like, Unreal Engine sheen that looks like...
Oh, shit.
It looks...
They put sheen in the game.
Oh, no!
Jimmy! I've brought to you my monster I've caught. Come fly kites with me, Jimmy.
Oh, come on, Jimmy. Don't fly kites with him. Let's go roller skate and skateboard.
Oh, well, guys, I don't know what I should do. I know. I'll make a robot Jimmy to catch monsters for me, and thus Jimmy Neutron becomes responsible for the robot attack. So, yeah.
The graphics have this, like, Unreal Engine quality to them where it looks like pre-made assets despite being seemingly completely original assets. Also, the transformation sequence, the, like, Disney sort of, like, point drawing something leads into a transformation sequence that when it like, it's like a Magic Girl transformation sequence that comes in on the legs with, like, over knee boots and, like, then shows the character in, like, a glamorous jacket, and I was really fucking scared for a minute that like these 5-year-old children were about to, like, turn into over sexualized teenagers.
Yeah, it was very scary, very worrying.
Oh man. This looks overwhelming. And in, like, every possible way, the graphics are like every fucking particle effect at once during combat. Combat itself is, like, frenetic shooting and then hit it with a big hammer and then, other stuff. This
looks like a game that would be played to then upload to YouTube Kids.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, I don't want to say this is a game made for kids, because I think kids who can interact with this game wouldn't be as enthralled by, like, the colors and the sounds. But, like, if you showed gameplay of this to a 2-year-old, they'd probably be pretty entertained.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the market.
I also, there's one specific second. I think it's during, like, it's in the opening 20 seconds, I want to say. Yeah, it's at, like, the 15-second-ish mark, like, 13 to 15 seconds, where, like, all of these characters are seemingly, like, 5-year-old children. Which I actually will say I do kind of commend. Like, aside from the one scary moment, they are dressed like hip kids, but not in a like weird Japanesey way, you know. So like this actually is kind of an interesting, like, if this is what it is in my head of like a bunch of kids playing pretend, you know, that's actually sort of a dope little idea for a game. I could actually get behind it. But there's a point at 15 seconds where like the motion capture is clearly done by an adult. Like it's there's, you know, two friends on either side, and then one person like kicks their legs up, and it just looks really awkward. It like Donkey Kong Country level of awkward almost.
Or like Sid the Science Kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clock Tower 3 level.
Clock Tower 3. Clock Tower 4 is DokeV apparently. Yeah. Real fun trailer. So that's Trailer Blaze.
Go out and buy this game, I guess.
Or I don't know. I don't know if I would. But what we will do is we'll actually do some recommendations now.
Yes, to sort of close out this this pilot episode of Talksurfer Show, we have some music recommendations. We've been listening to various stuff, basically.
Actually, I have a video game rec.
Oh yes,
right, yeah,
absolutely.
This is a game that just came out like a week ago. It's a sequel to a game we covered on this podcast. This is Psychonauts 2. It's so Psychonauts 2, sequel to Psychonauts 1, takes place right after the in-between-quel, which is Psychonauts in the Rhombus of Ruin. But I didn't play Rhombus of Ruin, but they had like enough of a recap that I could tell what was going on. They also have a recap of Psychonauts 1 if you're kind of not completely caught up. So Psychonauts 2, it's still a platformer. It still features Rasputin. He still goes into people's brains, does platforming things. It fixes pretty much every problem I had with the original game, though. So the platforming is a lot better implemented, I think. They do a better job at preventing just cheesing everything. Whereas, like, in the first game, there's a lot of levels where you could just, like, levitate over everything. Something interesting is that in the first game, levitation could be used to go over, like, poison and electricity and fire, but there were, like, no levels that use that, except for the level that introduces levitation, and it only does that in the part that tells you you can go over those. So, they actually have that, like, elemental damage you can levitate over in the sequel. It's more used actively.
Sorry, I don't have any comments, but I have not actually yet played Psychonauts 2.
I'm trying to keep this a little spoiler-free. Arrowheads are gone. They're now just Titanium ore. Titanium was a thing in the original game. So they don't have that, like, kind of weird undertone, I guess.
Yeah.
In general, they seem to have had a really good, like, understanding of what in the original game didn't age well, and they did a good job at fixing that. Like, there is a character that is sort of coded as a multiple system, and they're like, the resolution of their level is they find a healthy way to live as a system rather than Fred's, which was like the stereotypical evil alternate personality sort of thing.
Yeah.
In general, Psychonauts 1, the people in the asylum, I guess except for Boyd, but Edgar and Gloria, it felt like you were fixing their disability, which is a very distasteful sort of message. So instead, in Psychonauts 2, it's Raz's working through their problems, but leading these people to a realization or a better coping method or something like that. So he's not really fixing it, and it's more of the role of a therapist where they're like a secondary force, I guess.
Yeah.
The level design is less adventure gamey in that, like, there's a bit less of a focus on bring X item to Y person. You don't really equip items to show to people in the same way as you did beforehand. The psi powers are a lot better balanced. I often found myself switching between them in combat more often. And in general, I think combat's better in Psychonauts 2. it's at least like they do a good job at requiring some amount of like strategy or thought in terms of fighting each enemy. They have a more interesting system of upgrades to buy with Titanium ore. Platforming is smoother. My favorite thing, though, is that it still has incredible usage of like subtext and metaphor in its level design. I think even more so than the original game. It does a better job at sort of unfolding the concept or the backstory of the character as the level progresses. So like in Psychonauts 1, like you enter like Black Velvetopia or Sasha's shooting gallery or Waterloo World, and you kind of immediately understand what the level is about. Like the backstory of the character isn't usually represented in the level design, and when it is, it's sort of a constant referral to the same thing. Like, I think actually Black Velvetopia is the best usage of this, because that's the one where, like, halfway through the level you go into the sewer, and that's when you realize Edgar was blowing things out of proportion, or, like, you know, kind of fantasizing or romanticizing about things. Whereas, like, Waterloo World, it doesn't really unveil anything as it progresses, except for the memory vault. Gloria's Theater is actually another good example of a good one. Milkman Conspiracy, most of what you get is just from the memory vault. Once you see, like, oh, Boyd's a conspiracy theorist, the rest of the level just plays around with that. Whereas a lot of, especially the late game levels in Psychonauts 2, do a better job, in my opinion, of, like, over the course of the level, revealing new info and more info that tells you more things about the character. There's two levels in particular that I think are brilliant, which are Compton's Cook-Off and Bob's Bottles. Again, I don't want to spoil anything about them, but those are the two that I think are the standout in terms of writing. Also, it's a great speed run. Already, there's been a lot of speed tech found, but it's really fun tech to use. So I've been enjoying learning that speed run.
Yeah.
So yeah, big recommendation on Psychonauts 2. Game of the Year material. And I'm not even joking on that.
I mean, it is September of 2021, which, God, 9 months sure did fucking fly by, huh?
Yeah.
The ever unstoppable march of time. Hey, can I interrupt this segment very briefly for not a state of the meme, but a called shot of the meme?
Yeah.
Parappa rapping. So, okay, I saw this one image of Daffy Duck.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, it's Daffy Duck in a hoodie, and then Parappa the Rapper, and it's like, I slammed my penis in the car door. You slammed your penis in the car door. And it's funny.
Yeah.
It's great. It's a short little thing. But then I saw this other image that was an edit of the This Is Where My Parents Died, Raphael.
Yeah.
Kind of a bummer. Except it was, This Is Where My Parents Died, Parappa. This is where your parents died.
Yeah.
And I feel like two of those is enough to make a possible called shot that Parappa the Rapper might become a new minor meme.
It reminds me of in the Siva Gunner Christmas Comeback Crisis, how they had like the League of Rappers, and one of them was Parappa, and he just repeated everything the other said. The joke of like Parappa being completely unable to speak for himself, but also like cannot understand tone is great.
Yeah.
I do have my own called shot of the meme since we're on this topic.
Yes.
So the new Melty Blood is coming out soon, and I've seen, I don't know if this is just because I follow fighting game people on Twitter, but I've seen a few references to the character Neko arc, specifically one of her special moves, which is I want to go to Crocodile Country. It is a move where she just jumps forward head first and headbutts people. It should be mentioned, Neko arc is like a joke character in Melty Blood.
Oh, that's okay.
You might have seen her before.
Yeah.
It's like a little cat girl.
Her.
Yeah. But yeah, she has a special called I Want to Go to Crocodile Country, and I've seen that move like specifically referenced quite a few times recently. I think it's especially great because I think it's Dustloop Wiki recently started cleaning up their like captions on pictures, because a lot of the joke captions people had on pictures of fighting game character moves were kind of unfunny. But I Want to Go to Crocodile Country is great because that's just the name of the move. The other day I was at the zoo and I passed by the crocodile and I was just like, crocodile. It's great.
But damn it, I was about to make the joke of, but where does it align on the tattoo alignment chart? But no, it literally is on the tattoo alignment chart.
Yeah, exactly. The Tatsu alignment chart, which I have a bone to pick with that because it said that Chesto from Akatsuki's like 214B was like not complete full Tatsu because it doesn't spin him around, but I'm fairly certain it spins him around. But other than that, it's a very good chart. I love joke alignment charts. Like the bear alignment chart, the puzzle game alignment chart was another good one. Or the Thinky puzzle game alignment chart, which is like one side was Thinky, one side was puzzly. So like all Thinky, no puzzle was like StarCraft 2 is a puzzle game. All puzzle, no Thinky was like Tetris is a puzzle game. Thinky puzzle game being a very specific term for specific puzzle games like Steven's Sausage Roll or A Monster's Expedition or Bobber.
A Witness.
Yeah.
More like...
Oh, I think The Witness was on the first-person shooter alignment chart. Where True Neutral was like, you look at things in first person and you click on things. Or something like that. Yeah, alignment chart memes are funny. So yeah, actual recommendation time now.
I mean, Psychonauts 2 is an actual recommendation as well, but...
Yes, music recs.
Yeah, music recs, as I was alluding to by forgetting one of the things on our itinerary. So yes, you've been listening to an album called We Are the Union, right?
Well, actually, that's the band. The album... so, for one thing, this band, they have a bunch of good albums, but their recent album, Ordinary Life, is really good. They are a ska punk band. They've been around for quite a while. If you've heard of Ska2 Network, Jer... they are one of the brass players. I believe they play trombone in the band. But Reed, the lead singer of the band, this year came out as trans. And the album Ordinary Life by We Are the Union is sort of a, like, trans and genderqueer anthem.
Nice.
Like, every song kind of relates to that in some way, or is about sort of the process and struggle of finding yourself. And it's really great of a listen. Morbid Obsessions is probably like one of the most obviously about that. I really recommend Broken Brain because that's one where it's not necessarily like it's one that I think is very relatable outside of just the like genderqueer context. More about like anxiety and things like that. Very good album though, especially if you like ska punk or you want to get into it. In the like new tone movement, which is sort of the umbrella given to a lot of modern ska bands that have been like coming out with music recently. If you like ska in general, check out just anything that is signed to Bad Time Records. Kill Lincoln is the band that started the record label. Catbite came out with some music recently. Call Me Malcolm, Bite Me Bambi, and then yeah, We Are the Union, which is sort of a older band that is making some very good music nowadays.
Yeah. Also subscribe to Ska2 Network. Really good.
Yeah.
really good YouTube channel.
Their covers are great.
My music recommendation is a little bit less queer, decidedly less queer actually, but it's this very niche little EP that just came out not too long ago. Actually, yeah, this month. Called straight_to_voicemail by a band named Sugar Rush High. It's their first EP. They seemingly have sprung up out of nowhere with this. Not entirely nowhere, I suppose. They had put out a couple of their songs on this EP before. I can't tell you anything about this band. I tried to look them up. I do not have any information. This just sort of came across my feed one day. I clicked it, and I was a big fan. It's this very... I would describe them as, like, hyper-pop mid-2000s.
Very, like bubblegum. influenced.
Yeah. It's bubblegum KK pop in a sense.
Well, KK bubblegum is bubblegum pop. That's the genre. So it's bubblegum hyper pop.
Yeah, bubblegum hyper pop.
Don't pop that bubble.
Yeah, if you've listened to 100 Gex, you kind of get you know the style of hyperpop at the very least. But the reason that I really like it is that it tickles a bone in me that is like it sounds like mid 2000s bubblegum pop, but like it is all, the lyrics are all very clearly like quarantine inspired, because like the lyrics are all about effectively like kind of like a what's the term for the parasocial relationship, where like, you know, the first song on the album is like called Space Hey, which is their like synecdoche for Facebook, which is a good name also.
I don't think that's a synecdoche, but keep going.
I don't know what words mean.
Synecdoche, New York, Utica, right?
But yeah, the Space Hey is basically a song about like, I like what's on your feed and I think I'm falling in love with you. And there's kind of the implication that like the person knows them outside of the internet, but like you could easily read into it as parasocial, as with kind of a lot of the other songs have that sort of like element where it seems like it's someone that they know outside of the internet, but also like very clearly the love is kind of more about the parasocial aspect. And because of the like nature of quarantine, I feel like this was very definitely inspired by that. So like, do you want to be my boyfriend, which is stylized as do you, letter U, want to be my BF, question mark, is like all about basically like, you know, sitting in your room, like hoping that, you know, they text you, slow dancing in your room to their favorite song. And so like it's this, I love it because it's this weird intersection of the like, what was the name, like, hang on a second, Toaster, Strudel, CD. Yeah, Strudelpalooza 2002. Let me just click this real quick. Yeah, Simon and Milo, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Simon and Milo?
I just know that one song, Get a Clue.
Yeah. It's very similar to the Get a Clue song.
Who did the Year 3000 song? Was that Jonas Brothers?
Song by Busted? Yeah, the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Fun fact, one of the Jonas Brothers has type 1 diabetes.
Oh, yeah. Isn't it the Jonas Brother that isn't in the band The Jonas Brothers?
I mean, do they even still do the Jonas Brothers? Or I thought they all did single stuff.
I thought that they got back... Well, I know that they did single stuff, but I thought that they got back together to become the Jonas Brothers.
Oh, okay. I think Joe Jonas is in DNCE, who made the song Cake by the Ocean, which is a bop, but I digress.
Yeah.
I think it's Nick Jonas has diabetes.
Which is fun. Yeah, a fun fact.
It is quite fun.
And it is a fact.
As a diabetic, I have to keep tabs on all the somewhat celebrities that have diabetes.
Oh, you're a somewhat celebrity to me, Twack.
Aw, thanks. I'm pretty sure Joel Vinesauce has diabetes, from what I remember. But that's enough for celebrity gossip. I have one last recommendation to make.
Yes.
So this is actually a manga recommendation. If you don't follow me on Twitch, every week I do a little segment called the Weekly Shonen Jump, where I talk about Weekly Shonen Jump. One nice thing about Shonen Jump is that you can read the most recent 3 chapters of their series for free, as well as the first 3 chapters of each series for free, on their website. And so it's a legal, official way of reading the newest manga from them for free. Shonen Jump, of course, being a powerhouse in the industry, they've published most of the hits, like Dragon Ball, Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, Bobobo, Yu Yu Hakusho, Hunter x Hunter, recently Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man, which I mentioned earlier. And there is an ongoing series that I feel like is really good, but doesn't quite get enough attention outside of like the Shonen Jump fans, which is Mashle. Dumb name. But it's a good series. It's sort of like, I mean, the way I would sell it is like if One Punch Man or Mob Psycho was set in Harry Potter. So it's a world where there's like wizards and magic in a very wizarding world, if you will. And the main character is essentially a muggle. He has no magic prowess. Instead, he's been raised as a like extreme bodybuilder since he was young. Just the bulkiest man, like just completely stacked muscle-wise, ever since he was young. And that's because...
Can you also spell Mashle real quick?
Mashle.
Okay.
Like muscle, but mash.
Got it. The muscle mash.
The muscle mash,
continue.
yes. So it's like, in this world, it's like a crime to not have magic. Like, he would either be exiled or executed or something if he was found out. And so he goes to essentially the version of Hogwarts in this story and has to like try to not let it be known that he doesn't have magic. All the while he is like incredibly strong, stronger than most people, hence the sort of One Punch Man comparison. I think, so here's the thing. For one thing, it wants to be compared to Harry Potter or seen as a parody of Harry Potter. Because, like, all the chapter names are Mash Burn Dead, which is his full name, and the blank. Or, you know, character name and the blank. The Harry Potter book formula. But also, so, like, I think what makes this so compelling is that, for one thing, it's not written by a TERF.
Yes.
For other thing, is that it engages with the themes of Harry Potter better than Harry Potter did. So, like, in Harry Potter... whenever muggles are brought up, like, so here's the thing about Harry Potter. Voldemort is fascist because he hates muggles, and he wants to kill all the muggles. But despite that, nobody cares about muggles in Harry Potter. They're othered, they are, like, constantly looked down at. Every time somebody is brought up as a muggle, characters either, like, scoff or kind of view them as, like, weird. And... it just is really awkward or upsetting throughout the series when, like, by the end of it, not much has changed with that relationship between wizards and muggles. In Mashle, it is directly about the struggle between the magicians or the wizards and the people without magic. And it's repeatedly, like there are, in a recent arc, Mash was able to fight against one of the, like, main villains and come out of it alive and like drove him off a bit. And there are characters who still hate Mash because he doesn't have magic, despite him like putting him out there, which sure you could think of that as like a contrived plot hole in like the CinemaSin sense of like, didn't this guy just save your life? Why are you hating him? Ding. But it is sort of a actual prejudice the characters have against him. And so it's a lot closer to something like One Punch Man, where it's about challenging the establishment and people's expectations and assumptions, but it does so again in a framework that is compared to Harry Potter and does Harry Potter's things better than Harry Potter.
Yeah, it sounds like a manga that is like aware of Harry Potter, aware of the problems of Harry Potter, and aware of the problems of being a Harry Potter type piece of media in a post-Harry Potter world, but is also doing everything it can to, like, not exactly deconstruct Harry Potter, but, like, show a better version of it.
Yeah, it's like, really responsibly doing a parody of Harry Potter. Also, it's funny, and the art's good. Like, the fight scenes are pretty great. There's some just solid, like, timing and structure for comedy. Honestly, there's, like, quite a few funny... I wouldn't say there's a lot of gag series in Shonen Jump right now, but there's quite a few funny series. And I think Mashle is sort of at the better end of the comedy.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, the first 3 chapters are completely free to read. So, why not try it a shot? That's the phrase I'm going with.
Give it
out.
Give it into shape.
Shape it up.
Get shaped. Thank you very much for listening to Talksurfer Show.
Yes.
If you like this episode, you might like our other podcast that is this podcast called NetSurfer Pro. You can follow it at NetSurfer Pro on Twitter. You can also find it on Facebook, and you can find the episodes basically anywhere that you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, stuff like that. You can follow me personally, Galen, at Galen Wilson on Twitter and TikTok. That's at sign GALENWILS0N. I retweet cool stuff and post hot takes. You can find me on YouTube at The Only Galen on YouTube, and you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/machinegunvampire. And Matt, you got your own socials, I believe?
Yep, you can follow me on Twitter at Matt Craig Gaming. I tweet out whatever I'm working on, sort of hot takes, cold takes, medium takes, whatever
Take
temperature. But I also tweet when I go live on my stream, which is at twitch.tv/twack. That's twitch.tv/TWAK. I stream on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday from like around 1 p.m. Central Time to 3 or 4 p.m. Central Time. I play speedruns, like I've been running Psychonauts 2. I play a lot of roguelites, like Binding of Isaac. On Fridays, I play Hitman, and people in chat can make it harder for me to do things or give me specific objectives to complete. So there's a bit of a chat interaction with that. And also through my Twitch channel, you can find a link to a Discord server where you can talk with us, other fans of the stuff I do, other watchers and whatnot. And I have a big announcement to make. Something I have kind of teased recently that I'm actually ready to announce. September 15th, new, never before heard album. That's right, my first mashup LP, my first mashup album is coming out the 15th. Photon Punch, Hard Punch, Light Kick. I'm super excited for this. This was sort of a quarantine project, and I actually completed it, which is still wild to me. One of the songs from it, Short Car Long Armrest, is on my SoundCloud on Photon Punch. So, if you're interested in a preview, check that out. Otherwise, pay attention to my Twitter, and you'll be in for quite a treat.
Yes, having listened to the project as it has evolved, it is a very good LP. I quite enjoy all of the songs. I've had some input on some of the changes of the songs as well, and I think that between Matt doing 95% of the work, 99% of the work, and me occasionally going, "You should do this," I think it's a really, really good LP that you guys are all going to enjoy listening to.
Yeah. So yeah, check that out when that comes out, September 15th. And with that, I have no other announcements.
Yes, thank you very much for listening to Talksurfer Show. I have been Ari Shapiro, and this is All Things Considered.
Oh no.
On NPR.
Bye forever. Or wait, no, bye until the next episode. There we go. Now we're not stepping on toes. See ya.